Welcome to the Southern California Prep Insider Football Podcast. I'm Tommy Morris. He's Shotgun Spratling. Shotgun, enlighten the people on your clothing selection today. A different hat every week.
Representing North Dakota. North Dakota had a tough loss against Utah this past weekend, but mostly we're repping North Dakota because their baseball team got eliminated midway through a season. They kind of told the coach, hey, after this year, you guys are out. But the entire baseball program's just out. So basically so they can keep hockey because hockey's a big money-making endeavor up there. They get 20,000 fans to hockey games. So would be really fun to go see a hockey game there. But, I wear this in honor of the baseball program that got eliminated up there, but also the football team that fought against Utah but then got put away pretty handily.
So are you setting a precedent now that whatever college football team gets dumped on pretty good, you're going to wear something for that team?
It's possible. Maybe a heartbreaking loss. You never know. We'll see.
All right, we're going to get to your top 10, but before we do, we have to go to Jevon Ross, who's going to break down some of the recruits in the area. Jevon, who do you have this week?
Thanks, Tommy. So today I'm going to be talking about 2017 Southern Section recruiting news, and specifically I want to bring it to the Camino League, where Newberry Park Panther Joshua Madison just committed to the Iowa State Cyclones as of August 29th. Now, Joshua Madison is a huge player, a huge pickup for the Iowa State Cyclones. He's a great defender, plays free safety. Technically, he's listed as an athlete, but he plays free safety and running back. As a free safety, he shows tremendous ball skills and the ability to time his tackles perfectly so that he can either dislodge a football or stop the play altogether in one fell swoop. Now, as a running back, he's even harder to tackle than he's able to tackle, if that makes sense. He's very good at running between the tackles and being shifty in tight spaces. As a matter of fact, speaking of Cyclones, I seen him do a really awesome spin move in one of his highlights. He was running to the sideline, saw the defender approaching, and then cut him off. Whoop! Did a spin move, spin cycle, washing machine, whatever you want to call it, sent the defender the other way and cut it back inside, up the field, and took off. It was spectacular. I was impressed. And with talent like that, you're bound to get offers. Speaking of offers, he had 8 in total, including Iowa State. Among the others were Colorado State, Hawaii, Iowa State, Nevada, San Jose State, Utah State, and Wyoming. I mean, Joshua has been a varsity player ever since 2014, his freshman year. So he's got tons of experience. He shows it on a night-to-night basis, and he's a very big pickup for the Iowa State Cyclones. I'm pretty sure that relationship is going to go very well over the next couple years. Their Cyclones are very lucky to get him, and that's going to do it for the 2017 Southern Section recruiting news. I'm Jevon Ross. Back to you, Tommy.
All right, Shotgun, your top 10. Hit us with it.
Starting with the top or the bottom, your choice.
Let's go 10 first.
Starting with 10. Let's start at the bottom. I'm putting Murrieta Valley back in the top 10. They beat Redlands 49-13. Marquise Spiker with 6 touchdowns. I think he's going to break the California state record for touchdowns before the season's over as long as he doesn't get hurt. I think that's an explosive offense. I think they learned a lot of lessons from that week 1. Redlands not the best team, but I think that the Murrieta Valley is going to be pretty good. At 9, I still got Upland. They just dominated Claremont 62-3. David Baldwin, throwing the ball all around the place. Let's move up to 8 at Rancho Cucamonga. They beat Norco 28-21. Possibly could have moved Rancho up a couple spots, maybe, but they beat Norco without star running back. Norco didn't have their star running back, Travis Dye. So the fact that they weren't able to kind of pull away is a little hesitant on Rancho there. Also, an interesting thing in that game, the stadium lights went out with 34 seconds left in the game. So they had I think a 13 or 17 minute delay, and they got it in just in time. They got it back so that they could start the game. Because there's a curfew, I think, at 10 p.m. You can't restart a game or anything after delay. So they were able to finish off the game and give credit to Rancho for being able to get that last stop because Norco was driving at that time. At 7, I got Jay Sarah. They just keep on beating up on teams. They weren't very good in the Trinity League last year, but so far out of conference play, they've been really good. 48-27 over Alamany, who's usually a pretty good team. Al Fisher, the transfer from Paramount, 210 yards rushing again, 2 TDs. Centennial dropping them down to number 6. They lost to IMG 40-20, but give them a lot of credit because they did it after losing not their starting quarterback. Tanner McKee went down with a rolled ankle. But then also their backup quarterback, Alan Michele, was taken off the field on a stretcher on a helmet-to-helmet hit. Luckily, he tweeted a little bit later that, they think it's just a back sprain. He had some whiplash. Kind of got high load a little bit. But luckily, nothing too serious there. But they go to their third-string quarterback, who's their backup quarterback last year, and he kind of leads the team back. They were down a score in the fourth quarter, but then IMG was able to pull away. Kind of a rematch of last year, a 50-49 game, and that was won by IMG as well. And you gotta give it credit to Calabasas for beating Centennial this week, because it was two of their players that transferred to the Florida School and IMG Academy. Bookie Radley Hiles had 2 interceptions. He had a pick 6. Was running his mouth the whole game. I think he's one of the best trash talkers there was in Southern California. Now he's in Florida. But then also Brian Hightower, who had the game-winning catch last year, he had a TD catch as well against them. So really Calabasas was the ones that beat Centennial this week, not just at IMG Academy, which is a team just full of all-stars from all over the country. So give a lot of credit to Centennial for being in that game in the fourth quarter. But I did move them down. They'll have a chance to move up, throughout as they start winning more games, and that's what we expect them to do. Number 5, Chaminade. They beat Mountain View 35-22. Andrew Van Buren, again, another good ground game. 4 TDs. Michael Wilson has a 77-yard TD catch, the Stanford commit. Number 4, I got Mission Valley. They beat Vista Murrieta 41-7. Farrell rushed for 136 yards and 2 TDs. They just keep doing their thing. I'm interested to see when they play some really good competition how that team, how that offense kind of gets rolling, because they got some good receivers on that team as well. St. John Bosco, bounced back from the tough loss in Florida against St. Thomas Aquinas, the wet field and all the different stuff, not being able to make the field goal. They beat the crap out of Garcia Centennial from Bakersfield, 63-0. They did it kind of in every possible way. They had TDs rushing. They had TDs passing. They had an interception return by Stephon Playlock, 45 yards, pick 6. They had Spencer Gilbert return a fumble for a touchdown. They brought a punt return back for a touchdown. And Real Mitchell kind of played better as played better at the quarterback position this week. Had one highlight run. It was only like a 5 or 6 yard run, but he juked 3 times, sent 2 guys flying in different directions. It was just pretty impressive. So if you see that one on Twitter or something, that's one you want to check out. Search that one. Number 2, I've got Long Beach Poly. I moved them up, and they beat Narbonne 14-10. They didn't play great, but Matt Corral came on in the second half. He threw a TD pass to Jalen Hall, I believe, in the first half, or maybe early in the second half. And then it went down 10-7, but he led them on another drive and connected for a second touchdown to put them up there. That team's got a lot of talent. We got to see that defense play. The defense play pretty good. I mean, we got to see the offense, start rolling a little bit better. And maybe that's because they got some transfers. When they get rolling, I think it'll be because they connect really well and get synced pretty good. But number 1, I think we got an undisputed number 1 now in modern day. They beat Bishop Gorman 35-21. They were up 28-7 at one point. Gorman came back a little bit. They finished it off. They end Bishop Gorman's 55-game win streak. And I think they're the first team from California to beat Bishop Gorman since, I want to say, 2010, 2011. So, they represented well for Southern California. They held the Gales to 69 yards rushing on 30 carries. Some stars in that game. JT Daniels, 19 for 32, 315 yards, 2 touchdowns, without the number 1 receiver in the country, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and without C.J. Parks for much of the game. Both those guys missed the first game, and C.J. Parks didn't do much in the second game again. But it helps that you still have a couple more guys that are national recruits receiving-wise. Nico Remigio had over 100 yards and a couple touchdowns. He's going to Cal. You had Brew McCoy as a 2019, who's a two-way guy, made some plays at defensive end as well. He had a couple big catches. He's been looked at by a number of teams. Jacoby Harper, that's a great name right there to start with. He kind of wanted to go by Glenn again this year, but we're going to call him Jacoby until they make an official word, because that's obviously Shaq and Kobe. He was born in the heyday of the Lakers. So.
I did not catch on to that. I'm not. Okay.
You're not a Lakers fan. So
no, I just didn't even think about that.
Jacoby Harper, 18 carries, 116 yards, 2 TDs. He's kind of been maybe the difference maker for that team, because everybody knows that Daniels can throw the ball and they got the receivers, but then you can't spread out too far because he's been able to get some yards in between the tackles. Has been really good for him. Darian Green also with a big pick 6 on a 3 INT night for the defense. So A lot of players to point out in that game, but give a lot of credit Mater Dei. That's a big-time win. Number 1 versus number 2, so they're the undisputed number 1 right now. Obviously, they'll have a big matchup with St. John Bosco later in the year and in the Trinity League, and there's going to be some tough competition in that league. So, going undefeated may be a little bit more difficult this year, but that's a big boost right there starting off with a Bishop Gorman win.
All right, so there are the top 10 for this week. It's brought to you by Shotgun Spratling. Shotgun, any guys that you saw this week, other than the players who are in the top 10, that you want to give a little shout-out to?
We'll start with the game that I actually attended. Oaks Christian and Edison. Give credit to Bryce Farrell, 7 catches, 183 yards, and a touchdown from Oaks. Edison's field goal kicker kept him in it, hit 4 field goals. You don't usually get a field goal kicker on the top players list, but including a 41-yarder. They had a chance late at the game, but they couldn't score in the red zone. But he, was able to kick some field goals for them leading up, gave them a chance late in the game. I got a lot of running backs this week. People were running all over the place. Starting with Skylar Taylor, 289 yards rushing, 7 TDs in a 45-14 win over Soro, including a 92-yard run. And then Alice Young from Sunny Hills, 407 yards rushing, 27 carries, 6 TDs in a 40-3 win over Dana Hills. He had a 97-yard touchdown run. He's now, it's rough for him. He's now averaging 295 yards and 4 TDs. That's if you can just get 295 yards out of him, you probably have a pretty good day. Christian Saints from Compton, 8 carries, 187 yards, 5 TDs for the Tar Babes, 65-0 win over Hawkins. Hawkins was the team to beat in LA City section last year, but a lot of transfers because their coaches got dismissed. Taekwon Gilmore Torres, 295 yards, rushing 5 TDs. Abel Cueva from El Monte, 363 yards, 4 TDs. And this game was actually a little bit closer than some of the others were blowouts. This is a 52-41 game, so his yards really mattered. Let's look at Jordan Schmidt, a guy from Orange, doing it 3 different ways. 88-yard kickoff touchdown, 86-yard punt return touchdown, and a 73-yard touchdown catch. I mean, that's just helping out your team in all facets right there. That's a great effort right there from Jordan Schmidt. Ben Jefferson from Pacifica, passed for 270 yards, ran for 78 more. Casey Carr III from Tustin, big-time running back, had 5 TDs. He only had 125 yards rushing because he didn't really play in the second half. He started getting cramped, scored on his first 2 carries, kind of pushed them to an easy victory there. Cooper Jones at El Toro, 289 yards passing and 5 TDs. Dylan Nicholson from Fullerton only had 6 carries, 173 yards, though, and a touchdown, including that 85-yarder. Give him a lot of credit there, making the most of those few opportunities Coach gives you. Brendan Costello, San Clemente, taking over for Jack Sears, who took over for Sam Darnold, USC connection there. He threw for 361 yards, 5 TDs. He also ran for 95 and a touchdown. He had a 96-yard touchdown pass. Always good to mark that one down, get that 90-plus yard touchdown. We already talked about Marquise Spiker. I had him wrote down, but let me put out his stats. 13 catches, 168 yards to go for those 6 touchdowns. He's, like I said, he's working his way towards that state record. I think that's going to fall. On the defensive side, Stephen Bradshaw, Paloma Valley. I think he came into the game for someone that got injured, but 20 tackles and also a game-saving INT with 55 seconds left to secure a 35-31 win over Valley View. That's what I got for this week. Hey, guys, if you see someone have a monster game, hit me up on Twitter. Let me know so I can feature it next week as well.
And that's at Shotgun SPR for those keeping score at home and those who want to make sure that everybody gets their name mentioned. So here's my favorite part, Shotgun. It's the game picks. We've got all the games that will be featured on this week on the Fox Sports Go app, so go ahead and download that thing. You can watch all the games. I didn't use the app for this one. I watched it on TV, but I did watch that Bishop Gorman game last week, and I was very impressed with Mater Dei. That game was in hand throughout the whole time, as far as I was concerned.
I've got it taped, and I made it through the first quarter before I passed out Friday night. I'd been up since 3 in the morning, so it was a long day. But I definitely will be watching that one. I want to watch some of the Gorman guys that are being recruited heavily by teams around the country, and just see how good JT Daniels actually looked in that one. But yeah, definitely check out the Fox Sports Go app. I've been using it throughout the last couple weeks to check out all these games. It's great to be able to see these players live and in action rather than just hearing what we tell you about how good these guys are.
All right, here we go. So for these games on the app, we've got Upland going to Redlands, East Valley. Upland, they're 2-0 right now. They beat La Habra after blowing out Claremont, as you mentioned a little bit earlier. Junior quarterback David Baldwin off to hot start. He's got 596 yards and 8 touchdown passes throughout the first 2 games of the season. They've also got Bryce Parker on the team, who's committed to Fresno State. As for Redlands, they're 1-0. Miles Herrera with an impressive first game. He's a transfer from Grand Terrace. He went 23 of 24, 300. I'm sorry, that might be a typo. 23 of 34, 238 yards and a touchdown against Etowanda. So there was a three-headed monster quarterback race there that Herrera ended up winning. I've got Upland in this one, though. Shotgun, how do you see it?
Yeah, I've got Upland as well. I think they're playing pretty well right now. And if David Baldwin is on, that he's a dangerous quarterback and he makes that offense, very dangerous. They've got some other guys. You talked about Bryce Parker. They've also got a couple of cornerback commits that are to Mountain West schools, Fresno State and Nevada. They've got 3-star running backs. So they've got some weapons there. They've got some young guys that are pretty good as well. Redlands East, they won a very tight game, so that's going to give them some confidence coming off that first week, their first win of the season in week 1. I think that they're going to play well, but I think Upland is a more talented team. I think they got the win here. All
right, both on Upland here. So the next game, we've got Orange Lutheran going to Vista Marietta. Orange Lutheran still has not given up a point this year, Shotgun. They're 72-0 if you combine the score for the first 2 games. For that reason, I will take Orange Lutheran because that defense has looked stellar so far this season.
Yeah, Ryan Alinsky has been playing really well for the offense. The defense has been phenomenal. They beat Cathedral Catholic down in San Diego this past week at the Honor Bowl. And Cathedral Catholic was a team that a lot of people had some expectations for down in the San Diego section, which you could probably speak on a little bit more than I can. But, that defense played great. Alinsky's kind of been, locked in with, especially Kyle Ford, who's a guy that, is becoming more and more of a national recruit, a guy that is a talented receiver. They lost their tight end potentially, wrong team. But they have quality weapons for Alinsky to throw to, and you've seen that has come through so far. I think Orange Lutheran wins this one pretty easily.
All right, next game, Bishop Ammon at J. Sarah. Bishop Ammon not off to an ideal start here. They're 0-2. J. Sarah, you mentioned him a little bit earlier, is Al Fisher, the guy who transferred in, off to a nice start. He's fitting in nicely, and I'm sure he'll even do better as he meshes more with his teammates. He's got 308 yards already this season with 4 touchdowns on 9.3. That's 9.3 yards a carry. For that reason and many others, I'm going with J. Sarah.
I think J. Sarah, the McLean brothers also, you got one guy coming off the edge. You got another receiver. Those 2 brothers have been a big addition. Fisher also a big addition. Those transfers that came in. I got J. Sarah as well.
All right, moving on, we have Westlake going to Newberry Park. Cameron Reesing looking like the real deal, the Texas commit. Only a junior this year. He's got 552 yards so far this season, 6 touchdowns. That's pretty impressive. That's enough for me to take Newberry Park all on its own. Shotgun, what do you think?
Any quarterback that is willing to commit to Oklahoma, decommit, and commit to Texas and that big rivalry, that guy's got some stones, and I'm going to go with Cameron Reesing as well. I think Newberry Park wins this one.
All right, next game we've got, and this is the TV game. It is Chaminade going to St. John Bosco. Chaminade coming to this game ranked number 19 in the country. Boise State commit Andrew Van Buren has looked fresh so far in his first 2 games, 320 yards combined with 7 touchdowns. As for St. John Bosco, they come in ranked number 4 in the country. Took a tough loss to St. Thomas Aquinas, as you mentioned, and had a huge blowout win, as you mentioned, against Grayson Memorial. But I'm going to call for the upset shotgun. Give me Chaminade on the road at St. John Bosco.
Ooh. I don't think I agree with you on this. I think Bosco showed how good that defense can be, not only against Aquinas when they barely gave up anything in that game, but also this past week when they just dominated Garces. I think Bosco is, but Bosco is going to win this, and because I think they can shut down Van Buren and force Chaminade to be maybe a more of a one-dimensional team. That's what I'm really interested in seeing is how Van Buren does, who's looked really good. He's Boise State commit, but there might be some some bigger schools, some Pac-12 schools. Maybe if he's not quite solid, I haven't talked to him to ask him about that. But I think there's some other schools going to be coming looking at him because he's just been a beast for Chaminade the first 2 weeks. I think the big matchup to watch is if Bosco can shut him down. If they do, I think they win pretty easily. So I'm going to go with Bosco in this. I think that defense is pretty legit.
All right, there we agree on every single game with the exception of the Chaminade St. John Bosco game, which you can watch on TV on Fox Sports. West, Shotgun, anything else you want to get out there?
There were 3 games that I wanted to point out this past week. There were close finishes. I love the close finishes. Westminster got an incompletion in the end zone to hold on for a 21-17 win over Garden Grove. Servite beat the American Fork team from Utah. The American Fork Cavemen.
Nice.
I love that. I love that nickname. This is a great school nickname. They won 38-28. Julius Irvin with another interception there for Servite. And Laguna Beach took a 34-30 lead with a minute 22 to go. All excited on the sideline. They got a 16-yard touchdown pass to Jack Strickland. But La Quinta comes back. Michael Nadeau, it's his fourth touchdown of the day, and he just punctuates it with a 2-point conversion with 23 seconds left to give them a 38-34 win. Love the close games. Love those. If you have those, also point those out to me on Twitter. I love checking out finding out about the close games and the guys that really star. So hit me up on Twitter, Shotgun SPR. Besides that, just looking forward to another week. I'm glad the college football season has started. Basically, it's just football nonstop for me. The days where there's not games on TV, luckily this Labor Day weekend we had some college games. We had college games on Monday night. Tennessee and Georgia Tech was a crazy game. So it's just more the days there aren't games live on. I'm watching tape of different games. It's fun just to be back in football season. Now we're fully rolling. We got everybody going. We'll have this weekend. We get the NFL started. So now there's just going to be football.
And I said Fox Sports West. I meant to say Fox Sports Prime Ticket. It will be on Fox Sports Prime Ticket on Friday, that game at 7 o'clock. So please, 7:30, excuse me. Please watch it and enjoy all the games every week that they have on there because it's great seeing them on there. We've got to support the programming. Shotgun, great seeing you this week. I will see you next week. For everybody else, please continue to tweet at us what we did right, what we did wrong, and what you want to see in the future. Until then, see you next time.